Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Man. And today we have Ryan Herrington, the founder of Bali Brotherhood, which is one of the largest men's communities in Asia. It started with 6 men and is now grown to over 800, which is an incredible mountain. So we are going to dive into Inside the Man. What makes Ryan Ryan, his background, where he came from, and how he's grown into this founder and providing to men in Asia. So Ryan, let's go back, because I know you were a football player back in their early days. So what, 12, or we'll start from the age of 12, school, football, was that what was purpose for you? That's where you were going? What was going on with you then?
That was my whole life, mate, at that stage. I just lived and breathed sport. My dad was still is a huge Leeds United fan. So if there's any Leeds United fans, they'll know that you're kind of born into it. You're born into the family of you're a Leeds fan or you're a Leeds fan. And my whole life was just sport, man. I played cricket, I played football, I played every sport under the sun. And I was naturally gifted when it come to sport. And then by the time I think it was 12, 13, actually, that was when I first got signed on the books for Brighton Hove Albion as a goalkeeper. So it was the end of year 7, year 8, 12 years old. And then, and that was a big thing for me. So in my city, I was the goalkeeper. And it's not like there's only one or two goalkeepers around, right? So my ego at that point was absolutely massive. And at the same time, I was playing for my Sussex County Cricket Club at cricket as well. So if you can imagine, at that age, everything that I wanted to do and achieve, I was playing at the highest level in that for my age group. And that was my whole life. Winter football, summer cricket, in the week, training 3-4 times a week, cricket, playing or training 3-4 times a week. And that was my whole life. And that was what me and my dad did during those periods. And then when I was 15, I got released from both of them very quickly. And then everything kind of shattered from there, man.
And tell me the reaction. So I presume your dad was very proud of you to go on and become a Brighton goalkeeper and then go through that journey.
Yeah, 100%. It was our thing, right? We spent a lot of time together, and like even driving a lot at that point, because when you're playing on a professional level, you don't play locally, right? So you're playing at home, or you're traveling 2 or 3 hours, an hour to London or to your different clubs. So me and my dad spent a lot of time together there. And I was the golden boy, right? Because his dream was living through me, of my boy. That's my boy. But at the same time, he would stand on the sidelines every single football game and shout and scream at me the whole time. So I'd had him in the ear there, and I would be expressing that on the pitch.
It's good that you've touched on that and reflected on that. Is the lived dream through the child. Young says that one of the greatest burdens a child has to bear is the unlived life of a parent. So really cool that you've touched on that. So when you were 15, man, and you had to separate, obviously you had to separate from that world because you weren't eligible to play. You got let go. Talk us through that. What was going on for you then? How was that shaping you as a man?
I've been doing deep processing inner work for the last 6 years. And for some reason, so much of that processing, when I do timeline therapy or memories, goes back to that moment. And I was on tour with my local football club. We're in Prague, and we played Sparta Prague. We drew 1-1. And at the end, we went into the changing rooms. Everyone got ready. And at the end, my auntie had my letter. So I was sat in the changing rooms with my football manager here, my best friend's dad, who's our football manager, and my dad here. And I got the phone call, and I said, "You've been released." And now, through the work that I've done, I can really put myself in all parts of that room. And what happened was when this, and it was very recent awareness that the level of shame that I felt in that moment, where letting my dad down and letting all of the people in my life around, I kind of couldn't feel it. And I immediately got offered to be captain of the football club before I'd even shed a tear, before I'd even processed anything. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. I'm captain again. Walked out. And I was like, yeah, good. I'm captain again. Now Brighton, whatever. Doesn't matter. But that moment was a confirmation. It was a shock of my whole world. My whole worldview fell apart. My identity fell apart. It was a moment of like severe rejection, sensitivity. Like I felt rejected. I felt not worthy. I didn't feel good enough. All of these kind of patterns that played out in my life for a long time stem from that moment, and how unequipped I was to deal with that, and how I didn't receive what I needed in that space, which was time to process, feel what I had to feel in that moment, to then let it go through and then decide what that next season was for me. It was like, right, no, bang, boom, and put a mask on of this like performer, this achiever that couldn't do wrong, that couldn't feel shame, that had to do everything right, that was bulletproof. And then that kind of played out for the next 15 years. Only a couple of weeks ago that I realized how that had happened. So yeah, man, it was a really profound moment in my journey, and it's still unpacking all of these years later.
That's a lot of pressure, man. Like I've literally let down my entire family.
Yeah, man. And it was just my dad. Like it was just my letting him down. And it's funny, man, because I don't even watch football now. Like I did and it's like when I go back of like, what does my inner child need? I got dragged to football. I would cry and he'd be like, you're playing. Get out there, stop crying and get out there and play.
Right.
And it was like, bro, I can't do what I want. I have to do what the world tells me or my dad tells me to do. And I know that he loved me and he was just trying to do good for me and was like, toughen up. But it was like, it was never my dream. It was never what I really wanted. It was living through him, what he wanted. And
so you have no connection to football at all anymore, or sports, or anything like that?
Not really. I played football. I played football until I was 18. I played at a good level. Throughout college and stuff, and at Ryman. And then I played a couple of Sunday leagues when I was about 23, 24, 25 in Sydney. But yeah, man, just never, just not my thing anymore.
Yeah. So what was dream for you? Like, did you dream of being a football player at the time, or did you dream of something else that you just weren't able to live?
There was a couple of goalkeepers like David Seaman, Paul Robinson, that were like Leeds goalkeepers. And like, I grew up in a Leeds shirt, right? So like it was just football, football, football. So like my dream at that, even though it wasn't my own, it was like becoming the Leeds goalkeeper one day. And it was almost like I had the backup of like, if I'm not going to do that, I'll play cricket, which is so silly now. But yeah, it was kind of like, and there was a level of arrogance in me at that time because I felt bulletproof and I felt invincible. Yeah, like I look back and I didn't try hard enough. I didn't commit hard enough. Do you know what I mean? It was all the things that didn't really work because I didn't really want it on some level, I think.
Yeah, right. So when did your own dream emerge, man? What, like, how did that start to form?
Well, I think after that moment, I felt completely lost in the world for about 8 years. I didn't know what I want to do at college. So within my GCSEs, I done well in my GCSEs because I didn't really have to try. And then college, I was wanting to be a physio because I was like, how was I stay in some kind of sport? I sat in my chemistry class. I was like, fuck this. I was like, it's like at the time, it sounds like I felt like a jock in like a class of nerds. And I was like, I can't sit here for 2 years, man.
You felt like what? Wait, you felt like a jock? Like you felt like
I felt like the dumb jock in like a class of nerds. like, because I was just in chemistry and I was like, what? How has this become my thing? But then I just fell into the party scene, really, mate. Like, I didn't really have any goals. I didn't know what career I wanted to do. I had no idea where I belonged in the world. I was completely lost. All I did was just live for the weekend, drink, party, take drugs, and just escape. And I had loads of different jobs. I was doing like call center work. I was doing a state agency. I moved to Australia and went traveling. That was a huge part of my growth. But I just really just felt so lost for so long, man. And it wasn't until I was so if I fast forward like 8 years, I've done a lot of traveling, a lot of work, different countries. I was a recruitment consultant in Sydney. I just started a new job, and I just before that I turned like 19 stone on scales. And it was a real like slap round the face for me, because I was like, oh my goodness, I have been living in this bubble of believing I'm this confident ex-footballer guy, which is so bullshit. And I just completely lost my sense of identity until I saw myself in the mirror one day and I was fat. And I was like, what the hell has happened to me? And I called up my friend and got him to be my coach. And that was the rock bottom moment for me of, I can't keep doing this. I need help, because I've tried so many times, like yo-yo dieted over the years of like health kicks. And it was just like my health and body was thing I couldn't get on top of. But I got a coach, started looking at macros and flexible dieting. Within that time frame, I started a new job in recruitment, started picking up books, started reading about personal development, reading about how to love your work, listening to David Goggins, listening to Cal Newport, Mark Manson, all of these like Atomic Habits. And I went on to lose 23 kgs. So it was like with 112 kgs to 89, completely transformed my body. I went from brand new in recruitment on 55k a year. I had back-to-back promotions and hit the top billers club in the first 12 months of starting, because of the personal development work I was doing, and completely changed my life within 12 months of that. And then through that process, I was reading about work I love and I couldn't figure it out for a long time. And then one day I was smoking a joint and it just hit me. It just went bang. And it was like, Ryan, you need to be a coach. You need to help men. You need to take people through the journey that you've just been on, because you believe now that you can change, because you've shown yourself that over the last 18 months. And this is what you need to do with your life. And that was like the most pinnacle moment of my journey as a young man.
And did you get backing? Like, was that when you were going home? First of all, did the relationship with both your parents, were they like, go do this thing, or was kind of like conflict at the time? And there's a second part to this after you answer that.
Yeah. My relationship with my dad broke down massively. I had a really, really bad relationship with my dad after that. We just argued constantly. I'd work with him. He'd sack me. He'd call me a fat, lazy cunt when I'd be laying on the sofa hungover. We would just argue and shout and scream at each other because we kind of lost our thing, but we're very similar. And yeah, funny example. He said that I'd work for him doing cleaning because he had Airbnbs, and he'd ask me to do something, and I would just say like, why can't I do it a different way? And I would just answer him back all the time, and he would just shout and scream at me. But my brother was 18 months older than me, and he said, look, the difference between you and your brother is that I'll tell you both to go cut the grass with a pair of scissors. He would say yes and go do it, and you would stand there and complain why I couldn't use a lawnmower. And it was just a very funny analogy of like, everything he would tell me we'd do, I would just say no. It would just be, fuck you, can I do it my way? And it took a long time for us to kind of, rekindle that relationship. And part of the reason why I was in Australia, because I was saying, fuck you, Dad, I can do it without you. I don't need you. I'm not going to be part of the family business. And I flew as far away as I can as possible.
Mm. So, which actually leads on to the next question, but you've already answered. So your moment, Australia, something happened. That was like the first time in your, well, when was it like you were asked on an internal level, I need to grow up here and become my own man? And how did you answer that? You moved to Australia.
Say that again, mate. Sorry, cut out
So
a little
how
bit.
did you like, was there an internal moment where you're like, okay, it's time for me to move away from the life
Yeah.
of parents and become my own man? Was to Australia.
Yeah. So first time I went to Australia, it was my, it's funny. I thought I got deja vu having this conversation with you. It was, first time I left because my brother was leaving and he was like going to Thailand. I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll come with you. Second time when I came back, I was an estate agent and I was doing really well in a estate agency. Obviously, my brother and dad are builders. I was an estate agent. I was like, there was lots of things that I could do in that world. And intuitively, I just knew I needed to get out. I just needed to get out. And I was like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what I want to do. And I booked a one-way flight to Vietnam.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm going out in the world and I don't know when I'm going to be back. But I just know it's what I've got to do. Everyone was like, what are you talking about? Why are you going there? What are you doing? And booked a one-way flight to Vietnam. And that was the first time in my life I was alone without my brother, without my friends. And that was like therapy for me, that. Because I was so acutely aware of what I was speaking about and who I showed up in that space as. I was not wearing a mask, or what I felt was a mask for the first time, because I wasn't concerned around what my brother or my mates would say or take the piss out of me.
Mm.
So I was sharing things that I was like, wow, I would not have said that if my brother was here. Or wow, I would not have said that if my friend was here. And that was when I really started to kind of start my journey of self-discovery, when I left everyone I knew and went off into the world alone.
And was there some from that stage, right? We're coming into, you've gone to Australia, you're starting to go on a journey of self-discovery. Was there attributes from that stage in which you neglected and said, I don't like these behaviors, but then you've now realized later on that these are certain things, these are certain qualities and attributes, and actually I could use these in life. It's just I had a negative experience with them at one point, so I'm never like, fuck that shit.
Man, it's such a great question. So for a long time, so my dad was a very angry man.
Yeah, right.
So anger was a very, very unhealthy emotion for me to feel as a child, as a young man, as a young boy, because it would just be met with overpowering. So it was like, don't do that. Don't use that emotion because it's just going to backfire on you. So I was very much a people pleaser. I was very much didn't have any boundaries. I would be the nice guy constantly and just seek approval and be the nice guy. And what, we're 8 years later now from that moment. And I realized, and after the process of doing a lot of work, is that the leadership and anger or aggressiveness, not anger, like aggressiveness, is a really healthy thing that I can use in certain times that I didn't allow myself or was scared of allowing myself to use in certain times. And now how I approach things with life is vastly different because I'm no longer afraid of that, or the judgment I had of myself around being that. So yeah, I think that was probably the big one around anger from my dad, which was a big part of that reflection.
How is that actually like? How okay? First, like, what did you go? Well, you don't have to get into the major details of it, but how are you developing a better relationship with this anger inside you? And secondly, how was it able to function and help you in your life with this new skill in which I neglected at one point in my life?
Yeah. So the times that I had got really angry had been like violent. They've been on nights out. I broke my hand punching a wall when I
Right.
was like, and I was like, whoa, I was like, I'd caused damage in my life as a man when I'd felt that as a young man, often alcohol induced. So I would avoid confrontation. I would avoid, not confrontation, I would avoid conflict in like avoid difficult conversations because I didn't trust myself to go into that conversation and have a level head. So then there'll be a lot of like
Yeah.
uh open loops in my life, unlike leaks of like unfinished conversations, conversations I wouldn't have, me bottling things up and not having the conversations there and then. Whereas now I I believe that I can hold my emotions in situations when anger may arise much better than it was before. So that means in conversations with people, in business, potentially in life, that I'm not afraid of becoming the angry version of me that my dad was, or of losing my temper or being violent or anything like that now. I'm
Mm.
way, way better at just having a very transparent, candid conversation with someone, knowing that it may be difficult, but moving through that with calmness, still feeling what I need to feel, but containing that and not it falling out and then being destructive on
Yeah.
the other side of that. From when it comes to relationships and conversations,
That's a process in itself, eh?
I'm still on it, man, 100%. And I think there was a situation at the start of the year, and it was the first time I really felt it, and I viscerally felt a boundary being crossed, and I was like, wow, you've crossed the line then. And it was because I didn't know what the line was before. I didn't have any lines. Right? I
Mm.
didn't have any. There was no boundary there. So I was like, and it was a real like, wow, you've crossed something there. And my response back was very sharp, should we say, but rock solid. And I was like, you're not coming any closer than this. And I'm really grateful for that situation because it really brought stuff out in me. But there was no shame or guilt associated with that, which in the past would have been, because I wouldn't have handled it, quote unquote, how I wanted to, where I judge myself for acting in a certain way.
So it's interesting how we can just develop a relationship, and it's um it's fascinating. The way I imagine it is like just be more whatever, just be calmer or something, or just be this way. And what I've noticed, and maybe you can relate with this, is like it's like doing something that we consciously aren't aware, the modeling has never been there to understand that that's how you actually do it. It's like asking somebody to turn lights on in a room that has no wiring whatsoever. It's like
Mm.
the foundation. There
Yeah.
has never been electricity sent in that direction ever. Like so, it's like what it's like, almost like a hair being struck by lights on the road. They're like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand what that even means. So it's cool that you're able to like take something that you understand was something that obviously you've had a negative experience with, and now develop that relationship and be able to turn those lights on in that room whenever you need to. So we're now in Australia, man, and you have now climbed the ladder in some form. Coaching, that's another journey in itself to transition into coaching.
Yes. That was when life started to get extremely turbulent. It's the only way I can describe it, because so from that moment I went all in. It was like, it was the first time in my life I had meaning, I had significance, I had purpose in my life. And I've been listening to Tony Robbins' Unlock the Power Within, and I felt very insignificant for a long time because my significance come from my football career,
Mm.
and I didn't know who I was without that. And then this lot being lost in the world, and purposeless. It's like that quote of a man without purpose will distract himself with pleasure. That was it, right? For a long time. And then I found it and I went all in, man. I just threw money into it. I was just investing. I was working as a recruitment consultant at the time, and it was in the pandemic, and I was just all in. It was the first time I felt passionate, like really felt passionate about something. But it just didn't work for a long time. I was called that diet geezer. So I was helping with fat loss. We had a boot camp called That Geezer with my friends, That Mindful Geezer and That Fitness Geezer. And we just kept showing up again Saturday morning. We do boot camp, but we had no idea about business, no idea what I was doing. Loads of imposter syndrome, loads of internal stuff showing up. I quit my job twice, ended up as a bartender and a bus driver while I was trying to build my coaching business, which was a nightmare. I'd go through seasons of like posting content, not posting. And then it got to this point when I was like, right, this is not working for me, because I was trying to get permanent residency. I was stuck on a bridging visa, so it wasn't actually moving forward because of my visa. And I was trying to build my coaching business. And I was like, this is not working for me because I'm not moving towards any goal. So I decided to stop the coaching business, go all in on getting a visa. And when I made that decision, a week later, after being in no man's land for like 2 years on my visa, and I'm in Australia 4 years at this point. I got my letter saying I had to leave the country, and I took that as a sign. I was like, right, I've tried to go off this path. I've had to go back. I've had to go back to the UK. I've gone from living in Sydney for 4 years as a recruitment consultant, shoveling shit on a building site, working for my brother for £100 a day in the freezing cold. But I was like, right, I've got two choices. I either really go all in on this coaching and really get myself to Bali and really make this work, or I give up that dream for 4 or 5 years and go back into recruitment, live the lifestyle I want to live, and be back in Sydney. And I just knew in my heart that I would betray myself. I would betray my own values of freedom if I went back to Sydney. So I was stuck it out. I was like working £100 a day. I was investing in coaches. That was like, the coach is £800 a month. And I was like, right, if I work 11 days of the month, I'll get enough money to live off and invest and still have time to make the business work. And then 6 months later, nothing worked. And then I found a mentor who was still getting some clients. I mean, was not working very enough to make any money. And then I met a mentor of mine who said to me, Ryan, give me $4,000 and I'll guarantee that you make a 10 grand month. And I was like, my credit rating was fucked at the time for a mistake. So I fixed it, told the bank I was buying a car, got a $4,000 loan out, give him the $4,000. And then within 8 weeks, I'd moved to Bali and made my first £10,000 month. And that was 2.5 years after that moment of like, I need to help people.
Yeah, right.
2.5 years of like up, down, left, right, broken down, not working, investing, losing money. It was like £30,000 I'd invested to that point. And then I made it and I was free. And I was like, I fucking made it. I've made it to Bali. So that was it. That was the first 2.5 years of my coaching business, man. It was very, very frustrating, but perseverance and passion and purpose kind of kept me going.
And what was the one shift between the guy? What was the one shift between giving that guy $4,000 and doing it in 8 weeks and all the rest that was going on beforehand?
It was kind of one of those moments where he gave me permission.
Right.
It was a permission slip that he gave me because he said to me, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to help people be free because that's what I wanted to do. Right. I realized I've been healing out loud for the last 6 years. I've just been doing my work and speaking it out loud in content. And this whole echo chamber of my own healing was happening. And I was doing mindset and life coaching. And I was like, well, I'd love to help people start something they care about and have passionate business. And he was like, cool, do that then. And I was like, well, I can't do that. I haven't got a successful business. He goes, well, have you launched a business? Have you got clients in the past? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, just help people do that then. I was like, can I really do that? He's like, yes, you can. And his belief, his permission slip, and the belief that I had in a mentorship, where it was like one-on-one coaching and mentoring, that close contact, was all I needed to go bang. And it was like, I've been skill stacking for so long, but I hadn't really given myself full permission to step into really what I wanted to do. And as soon as I'd done that, it catapulted me into a new level. And it was kind of like a quantum leap I experienced. But from the 2 years of grinding and skill stacking and creating content and doing sales, and like all of the time then was that pinnacle of then having that leap into that next level.
And permission was the key to that, was it? It wasn't
Yeah.
the strategy. It wasn't that.
There was like the offer, like there was some strategic stuff around having passion in my offer and really believing in what I was selling and have like a tangibility of like, oh, I have something to give the world. So there was some of that stuff, but I think really it was just a case of like, Ryan, you can be who you want to be. You can do what you want to do. You just need to choose it fully and decide that enough is enough and you're going to make it work and burn the boats. And kind of that was like,
yeah, nice. And that's how you ended up where you are now with Bali Brotherhoods.
well, that what got me to Bali. And then 6 weeks after that, well, when I got there, I started really unpacking my my heart, because I'd kind of shut off relationships for a long time. Of like, I'm not in Bali, I'm not where I want to be, so I shut relationships out. And then when I got to Bali, I started doing a lot of healing, shamanic healing, and feeling why I felt so insecure about women, around women. And I was very intentional around doing that work. And then 6 weeks later, I met my fiance, and that was a huge part of my journey, huge part. Because we kind of went really together down the rabbit hole and like really went into spirituality and psychedelics and like really done a lot of deep work together. After
Right,
that,
okay.
yeah, that's my deep work really started.
How old were you then?
27.
That's when it really started.
27, 28. And I was 28. I just turned 28 because I met my missus when I was 27. My birthday was like a month later. And then within about 6 months, we flew off to Peru to do an ayahuasca retreat together. And that was a really profound experience. I've just been kicked out of my business. So I partnered with my mentor, helped him with his business for 9 months, and then one day kicked me out with no warning. I didn't have any money because all the money was coming out of the business. And then I was like, what am I going to do? Everything that comes out of my mouth, I don't trust, because I was so entangled with this energy. And then ayahuasca came up and made some money very, very quickly to fly us on a one-way flight. We could afford a one-way flight to Peru, the two of us, and the retreat, and then we'd have to figure it out after. And we'd done that, packed our bags in a day, got on a flight, flew to Peru, and sat with ayahuasca for 11-day retreat, 5 nights. We done.
Sounds like a defining moment, eh?
Very, mate. Very, because I knew that I was inauthentic because I was being told who to be by my mentor, because I didn't trust myself enough. As soon as we went into partnership, when I was on my own, things were growing. As soon as we went into partnership, I became someone I needed to be for the business, and I wasn't myself, and I knew it. And I felt deeply called to learn who I was and uncover who I was. So in that process, I went there to find my voice. That was my intention, to figure out who I am and what my voice is. And there was some defining moments in that journey of, what does freedom mean to me? And it hit me just like that. And it was self-expression. And it's like, the freedom that you are chasing is your ability to express yourself freely, Ryan, and express yourself in the world. That was a real profound lesson for me, which guided me on many journeys after that. And yeah, there's a ton of breakthrough moments, but that was really the defining moment of being authentic and knowing that who I am as I am is enough. And then over the next couple of years, people, even now, around authenticity being one of my highest values, and a reflection people give me back around the level of authenticity that I can show up with because of that work.
And who is Ryan?
Great question, man. Brian, thank you for that question, mate. I am a man who desires to live fully, to give everything it's got, to love fully, to show up fully, to experience fully, to build beautiful relationships with my family, to provide for my family, create an amazing life for my fiance, my future wife, my family, be a man of service, and yeah, really experience everything that I desire, man. But that's never, and it's a constant journey to figure out who that is, right? The breathwork recently, and I was so afraid of removing my mask of the performer because I didn't know who Ryan was without it.
When you came out of that journey and you had this freedom of self-expression and you had I would say a center to operate from, what what was the next challenge for you, man? Like, what was the next thing you really faced? How?
I had my ego torn apart, mate, because I come out of that in survival and stress and ego, and in South America with very uncertain and unpredictable income, providing for my partner in the middle of Argentina and Peru. And I was trying to prove who I was in the world. And I'll help you scale. I'll do this. I'll help that. Trying to say, fuck you. And the universe just slapped me and slapped me and slapped me. And I just crumbled underneath all of it because of who I was trying to show up as in the world and in my business. And none of it was working. Posting content, having conversations. I was being rejected by the marketplace because I was so inauthentic in that space. And it took the gradual eroding of that to be back in the UK on my 29th birthday. My business has basically died. My fiance was my girlfriend. She was my girlfriend at the time. She was in Russia, staying with her family in a small 1-bedroom studio with her niece and her sister and her nephew. And I had to accept that I wasn't who I tried to be. I wasn't this guy to help people scale because I wasn't making that money. And in the business coaching and consulting world of like fabricating numbers to get clients, it just pulled me apart. And I went from, in my last business, we were helping people grow and scale, but it was mainly my business partner. I tried to do that. And then I went all the way back to helping people sign their first client and going right back to serving beginners again. And it wasn't until I went there that I hit a solid place and then started rebuilding from that space, which was a lesson in itself. And then I took another risk and flew to Dubai which was a fucking nightmare. Took a 10 grand loan out and moved to Dubai to like reignite my family, because my missus would be like, where can we meet? We're like, right. I flew us to Dubai because I felt like I was stuck. I thought, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my relationship, because I can't do anything. I can't get her out of there. I can't provide. I can't do anything. And then I crumbled, and that fell apart, absolutely crumbled. The pressure of being in that space and the comparison and how I was pedestaling everyone and making myself feel this big in front of all of these people there. One Sunday afternoon, I just fell down crying, Googling, how do I pray? Because
You turned to God.
Yeah.
And this is the first time?
First time ever. First time ever. I had experience with God during ayahuasca, but then it was like probably like a year later. Yeah, I was like, I don't know who else to ask. How do I pray? I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I need, but I need some support because I feel like I'm drowning here.
Wow.
And I just felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. Just felt crushed. I felt absolutely crushed. And then said, like, right, to my missus, like, we're going back to Bali. And it was the first time in our relationship that I started leading fully. It was the first time that I was like, I have to put my needs first if I'm going to be able to provide. And then went back to Bali. And then within a week of being there, I had a 10 grand cash week. So I was like, this huge release for me. And then that was when the Bali Brotherhood started, when I just got back to Bali after that kind of episode of like going to Peru, moving back home, moving to Dubai, and then back to Bali. It was like a year of fucking stress and mess. And then we met up with Bali Brotherhood, with 6 of us. And like, how are you, Ryan? And I was like, I was just like, I was like, oh my God. I was like, lad, you don't understand how much I needed this. And I was just like, whoa. I was like, whoa, what a year.
What a
And that
year.
was how that started, man, after that. So, yeah. Wild.
When you say you led for the first time, talk me through that.
So I felt like on some level, and we spoke about it very clearly, I felt like on some level I was afraid of being alone. So I found a woman that I loved deeply and cared about and had a family with. But on some level, I was still deeply afraid of being alone. And like one of my core fears at the time was dying alone. How that played out was that I would not know what my own needs are. And I would put her desires above my needs and what I needed for stability. So we would talk about certain things, we'd have conversations, and I would say yes without really considering the consequences of that, such as moving to Dubai, getting a loan out, moving to Dubai. Like that's probably better. That probably wasn't the smartest decision, right? But I'd done it because if I didn't do it, she would leave me, which was only my story anyway, right? It was only my deep fear of abandonment wounds and all of my stuff showing up. And it wasn't until it really got to that rock bottom point of I cannot keep doing this way because it's not going to work for either of us. And I had to be like, this is where we're going. This is what I need. And this is what I need for us. Are you coming with me? Because we're going here. And she followed me. She followed me to Bali and she allowed me to lead. And I stepped into that leadership role for the first time fully in our relationship after about 18 months. There was a real pivotal shift in that.
What is the, just reflecting back, so there was England, Brighton football, Dad living his dreams through you, then Dad not living his dreams through you, then I'm done with this, working with you, 20 years of age, I now go to Australia, I start to develop myself, I start to find self-expression, I meet my partner, we go do ayahuasca. There's so many defining moments. You've now come to Bali, you've started the Bali Brotherhood, and that again is another defining moment and a journey in itself. But Like out of all of it, what would you say is like what did you really have to give up? The story you had to stop telling yourself when it came to the Bali Brotherhood and taking that in the direction of 600 to 800 men.
And I think this speaks beautifully to what the Bali Brotherhood is for me, and the speeches the talks that I do. And it's this identity of the lone wolf. And for so long, I believed I had to figure everything out alone. And I was too proud to ask for help. I was too proud to be fully open and vulnerable and show these parts of me that I felt shame around, I felt guilt around, I felt like I wasn't being good enough. And I think really the journey that I've been on is slowly unpacking this idea that I need to be perfect. I can't show weakness. I can't feel shame. And I really believe, mate, that it is the mask of the performer, the mask of the achiever that I kind of put on in that changing room at 15 years old. That has been the biggest driving force of my whole life until very recently, and still is, of like just drove me to America, drove me deep into the party scene of like, I'm really good at partying and raving. I'm just like fully like extreme. And then traveling to the other side of the world, taking big impulsive extreme actions, then doing the work that I was doing and how extreme I took things, and then with business and how I was like so relentlessly in that, and I think recently it's just not needing to prove myself to anybody, right? And not needing to prove to my dad that I am good enough, that I'm smart enough, that I'm successful enough, and then just prove to myself and just allow that part of me to just fucking chill. I've journaled today about it, and I heard it recently. It's like there's a beautiful moment when you realize you are not special, but you are unique. And it's like so many of us walk around like we're special or want to be special and want to feel significant when we are special. But it's like you're not special, but you are unique. And they're different things. Like we're all unique in our own ways, but our value is all the same. And I think for so long I was like trying to chase, yeah, significance, chase being seen, chase being applauded, chase being the guy. And then very recently, it's like, do you know what, mate? What I really care about now is building a very, very safe and secure container for a family. Like that is really the thing that I desire and I want to work for and I value now. And yeah, this performer, this guy wants applause. He can turn on when he needs to turn on, but he's not driving the ship anymore. And he was doing that for 15 years.
What's it like to experience life like that?
Peace, man. Way more peaceful, mate. We just when it happened, I cancelled all these big things that I had going on. I was going to do a summit. I was going to do these big events and all of these things. I was like, I don't need to do that right now. I don't need to do it all now. And I feel like my time horizons have expanded because I was trying to do everything now out of fear that if I didn't do it now, I wouldn't do it. And it just overloaded my nervous system. So, like, ever since that's happened, I feel more peaceful. I feel more spacious. I feel I've got more joy in my life. I've had more beers because I've been judging myself less about being productive. And I'm like, this before you can't drink a beer. That's not productive. Shut up, mate. I have a beer and enjoy myself and chill the fuck out a little bit and enjoy life a bit. I was just sober for a long, like sober most of the year. And I was like, spend more time with my missus. I'm way more present with her. It's been profound. So profound because I've been able to unblend these two things of that is not Ryan. Like this high performer, achiever, this leader, this guy is not Ryan. He is part of Ryan. He's a fantastic, beautiful functional part of Ryan when he plays his turn. But if Ryan forgets he is who he is and just believes he is that person, he will lose himself and he will burn himself out and he'll be stuck in this cycle of chasing validation and success.
But that's not the entirety of Ryan.
No, not at all. And I had a beautiful breathwork session with a friend of mine who's an amazing men's coach called Alex Lehman. You should interview him. He's worked with David Data, John Wineland. He's done really deep work. And I said, bro, I was crying, and he was like, I'm scared of the void. I don't know who I am in that void without this mask. And he helped me shift that into, can you go into that space with wonder? Can it be this thing that's exciting and curious and explorative, explore that from a place of wonder and awe and excitement and curiosity, not fear, shame, guilt, uncertainty. So I feel it's completely unlocked a different paradigm for me of self-discovery and self-exploration without the urgency. It's been a big part of that.
Sounds to me like you found yourself.
And continuing to do that, right? I think it's the beautiful thing around the layers of the onion of consistently meeting parts of myself. And it was the first time he said, can you give that 15-year-old Ryan a seat at the table? And it was the first time I felt like I no longer identified with that part of me, and I could see that part of me sat next to me. And that was the first time I realized that is not me. That is a part of me. And I have this almost like curious excitement around, who else is going to be sat at the table over the years? Who else is going to come out of the shadows and be like, oh, hello, mate. I didn't know you were there. I like unblend and like pull out all of these different parts of my identity and give them space and love and compassion, and know that they are always on my team, and using and like playing with them, or who wants to take the seat right now, the stage right now, based on what's needed in the world, is kind of like a fun, dynamic kind of journey that I feel like I've been kind of like allowed to embark on since this work.
It's an evolution, eh?
Completely, man. Completely. And it's interesting around how the Brotherhood kind of has evolved with that as well, because I really took leadership in that, and I was talking to myself out loud into a group of men. And because I kind of had done a lot of self-awareness, I kind of understood myself a lot. And then what I would share would resonate a lot with the guys, because I would be speaking to myself through them in that space. And then how I show up in that space has changed significantly over that time, where I would speak about different topics and be fucking motivational and passionate about certain things. And it would really resonate with some of the guys. And then a part of me also realized that that was just me wanting to be seen and significant and take the stage. That wasn't about serving them. It was about how I was feeling in that space, or what I was getting from being seen and applauded in that space.
Wow.
Which was an interesting reflection on the significance angle. Of like, it gave me significance being in there because I was leading it.
And because of this shift, where is the direction it's going now in terms of it's a space? Yeah, how is this evolving into the actual community itself?
Yeah, so over the last year, we've been building a documentary series called The Brotherhood Blueprint, which is just being launched now. So we crossed 2 years on the 1st of June. So yesterday, at the time of filming this, Bali Brotherhood was 2 years old. And now, how I see the future of it is that we've laid the foundation of trust here in Bali. The blueprint, the documentary series, and the platform that's going to come off the back of that is the expression of the work that we've done. to go into the mainstream consciousness and to really bring people into the work and the magic that we've created here, and allowed men to connect, allowed men to remove their mask, allowed men to heal, allowed them to connect with other men, allowed them to do their personal development and inner work, and realize that they're not alone in their problems, and that all the things men face, we're all wired the same, we all want the same things inherently. And the more that we can remove the mask and equal the playing field and get off this pedestaling and projections of who we think we should be in the world, and really get to learn about ourselves, that is kind of how this is going to live on. And the mission that we have with that is to get online circles so everyone in the world has access to it, and then roll out in-person brotherhood around the world, as a way that everybody can experience what we've created. And that for me is a purpose project and a passion project that I really believe in, and profoundly impacts so many guys. And yeah, it's going to live on through that, man, which is a beautiful next season for what we've done and what we've created.
Nice. How exciting is that?
Yeah, man, it feels good, man. It's real impact, mate. Real impact. And yeah, got amazing people on the team for that as well. And we're blessed that we've got so many beautiful human beings here in Bali for it to be born from here. And I just feel like, yeah, I feel like not like my part is done, but my role in the foundations is complete. And now we move into the next phase of bringing this to more people into the world.
We're going to finish up here soon. I just have one final question, and it is more of a, if you were to use one word to tell someone to approach life with, what would that word be?
The word that comes to me is adventure, and even like the hero's journey, right? I think it's that part of us that's like, rah, let's go do that cool thing. Like, let's go experience what's out there. Let's really give it what we've got and really push ourselves to live the life that we want to live. And I think living life as an adventure with all of these heroes' journeys from within it, these lessons, these defining moments, these growth cycles, whether they're a month or I think I've just gone through a 6-year growth cycle, and it's really treating life as one big adventure. I think that, yeah, that's what's alive within me when you ask that question, man.
You almost turned into a little child there. You're like,
yeah, I'm like, oh, I love it.
Nice, man. Nice. I'm excited for the Bali Brotherhood and to see more of that adventure come out on you, man.
Yeah,
it's there. It's like, what's
like,
next?
come on, I don't know what that is. Like, oh, come on, let's go. Let's shake it off.
Ryan, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you have anything you would like to share with one final message you'd like to share with the audience, maybe it's about what you do, where you can find you in Bali, or anything at all, I'll just leave the floor open to you.
Yeah, I think connection wise, Instagram is probably the best thing. Ryan Herrington __. And I guess I think in terms of the message for the podcast Inside of the Man, I feel like we have responsibility as men to figure out who we are as men. And I don't think the world gives you a blueprint for that. And my role is not to tell you who you should be. I think for all the men listening to this, I think the greatest adventure you can go on is, as men, is understanding what being a man means to you and live in integrity of that, because it is different for everybody. But I think that is our unique gift as men. And that separates men and women.
I love that.
Role is to find what it means to be a man in the world and live to those standards. But don't ever let anyone tell you what that means to you. You have to choose yourself.
Nice. Cheers, Ryan. Really appreciate it, man. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure, bro.